Okay, so yeah, it's my privilege to welcome everybody. So welcome our Hyland EMEA partners to our what is the second of our dedicated partner tech sessions. So this one for Hyland in Intelligent Document Processing follows the one we did recently for HXI. So thanks for everyone for joining. A bit of housekeeping first of all, just to kick us off. So please, can we ask you to stay on mute? Throughout this is actually not a webinar, it's just a general Zoom meeting. So if you could stay on mute, that'd be great. The session is being recorded, as I said, and we're encouraging questions. So, but if you could please write your question or any queries in the chat, that would be absolutely brilliant. So really to kick us off, why has Hyland gone into the in IDP market? So when we particularly when we already had brainware. Well, really, there's a few things. I think it was really a case of wanting to bring to the market an end-to-end solution that worked across all our major platforms. That was the sort of initial driver for it. Also, to have modern architecture. I'm not going to talk too much about that because clearly I'll steal Chris's thunder. And really, it was a case of having a platform that we as Hyland and our partners can build solutions on that we can then jointly take to market. So I think that's the sort of introduction done. I'm going to hand over to Chris and Silvana, who's going to do the main bulk of the presenting. So this is the team. So just in case you don't know, I'm Andrew Cox. I'm partner manager in the UK, looking after partners in South Africa, Middle East, and UK, Ireland, obviously. And we've got Chris and Silvana from the solution engineering team. So I will hand over to them.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew, for the introduction. And yes, welcome everybody to have you here. I'm really happy to introduce Hyland's new product offering to you. So let's talk about what we have for you today, what we have prepared for you. Just a fun fact in advance, I just read the headline again of today's session and just saw what Andrew added, unpacking the solution. And I just remembered, because it's fun fact, and sometimes I laugh a bit about it, because my son always loves to watch unboxing videos of new hardware. So this is, of course, not the case for today because we have nothing to unbox, but we really want to give you some insights into HIDP and what this new product offering means for you. So therefore, we prepared those topics for you today, the platform overview. We go to two major or key product features, and then we will take the most part for today in the live demo. And then we end up with the conclusion, what we can offer you as our partners, of course, but also to summarize a bit all of our key benefits, why HIDP matters. And yeah, with that being said, let's directly start with a quick platform overview and explain to you what HIDP is all about. And beside that, we'll also talk about architecture, some metrics, and of course, some key features in here. So first of all, this is the overall view of our end-to-end processing engine, HIDP. That means on the left side, you can already see here that we have a thing that what we call multi-channel or omni-channel capture. So this is why we are not talking only about documents. We can also talk about photos, pictures that have been taken with a mobile phone. We can import documents from a scanner, of course. We can also process only text information in the system. So it's really omni-channel and omni-format. That means anything that can be processed in here that has any kind of content that we can use to classify informations, to extract data from those informations that we get. And the rest of this process looks like, in this case, what you typically know when you also work with other solutions or with brainware, for example. That means this is the typical order what we do when we process document, content, and information, of course. But this is not the only truth for this product here, because this is just the way it makes the most sense, of course. But you can only just focus on separation or classification or just on extraction. And you can put and combine this together in a way that is really unique. So, but let's start here in the right order from the left to right with the recognition. HIDP brings its own built-in OCR, OMR and ICR engine with it. That means you can use it out of the box for all these typical steps for recognizing information on each document or on the content you're processing. The next step will be separation. You can use HIDP to either automatically separate and split documents into separate parts. This can be done with the typical classical methods, I would say, like barcode recognition or separation pages, for example. But it can also be trained to do this fully automatically without using some of these techniques. That means you can really train the system to separate automatically based on a train set any document you're processing without the need to put anything in between or to add a barcode on those documents. Then the next step is the classification step. You can really train the system, create your own learn models to classify those documents or the content you're pushing into the system. There are typically two ways that we are using here. You can use both of them or only one. It depends on the use case, of course, to have a content classifier or an image and layout classifier. Those can be also added with trainable machine learning models to really identify the document types. And based on these document types, we extract the information and data you need to push the information to the destination system at the end, of course. And at the end or in each step in between, there can be, if needed, a manual validation step. That means for separation, for classification, or for extraction results, there is sometimes a need for manual validation. Therefore, we have something like persona-based applications, web-based applications that can be used from these workers to really validate and verify the extracted content, the structure of those documents, the separation, and the classification. And after this, we can, of course, push these documents and the content to its destination. This can be, of course, one of our Hyland products, but it can, of course, also be any kind of enterprise application as its destination and the output we are creating in the step. We'll talk a bit about the output as well later during the session. And then the underlying structure here, you have this continuous online learning. That means here comes all this stuff together, what will be trained, what will be used, and what will be done during production, for example, during the validation. That means anything can be automatically analyzed using our online learning capabilities. It can be tested, it can be promoted, and all those improvements based on our input that we receive in the service can be pushed to the production environment. And the next layer down there is the overall document processing platform. So that means where all the stuff comes together at the end and where you can configure your own BPMN-based processes. That means any of these tasks that you see above here, and of course much more, can be just defined and configured based on a service-oriented and high-volume architecture with our built-in BPMN designer and can be monitored with that one. You also will see this, of course, later, what it's all about, because this is, of course, one of our key features here, that you really can put all this stuff together based on this modeler. In the next slide, we just want to talk briefly about the architecture of the system. So I got one slide here that shows you how a sample architecture of HIDP can look like. The core application of HIDP is built up on Windows. It supports either MS SQL, Oracle DB2, or Postgres as a database. Some activities like the integrated OCR also run on Linux. This process, as you can see here, the process editor, process monitor, and all the stuff in runtime can also be uses activities that can be distributed across multiple servers. That means whenever you need it, for example, because OCR has regularly a high workload, so you can run specific activities and tasks on different instances in your environment. So you can really distribute the workload across different servers and infrastructure. But there are also some centralized configuration monitoring tools like the process monitor and the system monitor that enables you really to view the performance and each task during this processing of all of these documents. And it's, of course, also split it in so-called design time and runtime, because you can configure your process. You can put all the stuff together, like classification steps, like the extraction project, and all of this, what you need to process your content, and then push this to your deployment stage. This can be, of course, test or production, for example. The whole environment can be used self-hosted, self-managed. And we are also going to offer this in the near future as in our own Hyland cloud, of course. But to make this already, to make you aware of this already, there is no need to use any kind of cloud services to use and process and to run HIDP. So it will be completely in the same way deployed when you're using it in the Hyland cloud or if you're using it self-hosted or self-managed. But of course, it's possible to include cloud services like Amazon Textract or something else in the process if you need to or if it's required to use this. I also want to share some metrics with you from different production systems that you get an impression on what the results could look like in a production environment. We are unfortunately not allowed to share you the names of the companies that are using it, but we can share the data anonymously with you. So for example, we have an insurance company that is processing roughly 120 million pages per year. This means it is all incoming mail from all the customers where they identify the case and the subject of all incoming mails. And we have your result to the destination system with a straight-through processing of around 96.5%. The second one is a service provider with a digital mailroom solution that is processing around 6,000 emails per day in around 110 document classes that are currently used. And every of these emails will be normalized and converted into PDF-A. That means also a very high workload on that page because PDF-A conversion and OCR typically some that have a really high impact on the infrastructure. But at the end, you have a processing time of under 60 seconds in average, including the manual validation for each of those documents. And we have, at the last sample for today, an insurance company with Ultra has a digital mailroom solution with roughly 11 million pages per year, which does only classification and separation now. And this processing is fully achieved with a 4 to 8 core machine. And the error rate at the end is below 0.2%. And for these 11 million pages per year, they have 32,000 trained documents or created a train set with 30,000 training documents in it. Let's go to two important product features that we want to share with you in advance to the live demo. And this is document processing and the continuous learning engine, where we want to talk quickly about it. So the document processing platform is where it comes all this stuff together. That means we really configure how the process looks like and how the workflow or the flow from each document looks like through the system. You can already see here on the right side a small screenshot of some different activities from the importer, document importer and email importer, for example. So that means we have here a process designer that is built for a low-code or even no-code approach here. That means everything you see later during the live demo is just built with no additional code. This is all web-based, a web-based application for really creating and changing and maintaining all the processes. That means you will have different kind of levels, for example, for departments, for the organization, for each process that really also can give access rights to them. And then you configure each of these processes in the application. Once you have configured them and they are running either in testing or in production, you can use the process monitor to really monitor and get an overview across all your processes and all work items that are running through the system. So that means it helps you to identify bottlenecks, for example. You will identify issues. You can really review any kind of process. You could drag it down to each activity if you would like to. We also have the system monitor. This is more or less for the whole system and environment rather than the single process or the single activity. But it gives you also an overview of the impact and the workload of each activity. For example, if you really want to review what kind of impact and workload you have on your OCR activity, you can use the system monitor to identify, hey, how does the CPO load looks like? And HIDP comes with some built-in activities. You will see this also later during the live demo that we have about 60 built-in out-of-the-box activities that can be used just per drag and drop to put them together into this kind of process. And this is probably most important for you, of course. They can also create your custom activities and add them to the process using the .NET framework, or to integrate them with other applications using the REST API interface. So that means if this, what is built in, is not enough, and it's not enough to add maybe some minor code to it, you can really create your own activities and add them to the process. Next slide is about the continuous online learning. As already said during the platform overview, we can collect here any kind of input that we get during the document processing. That means all results can be gathered in this online learning service. This example, what you see here on the slide, is just for classification, but of course it's exactly the same, or it works quite similar for separation and extraction. We just use this classification as an example for today. So this is really a background online learning service that creates a new revision for each classification or extraction project based on a schedule. Those revisions are automatically tested. And this is quite important and crucial to understand, because you have two types of sets that can be used to test those revisions against. The first one is the reference set. That means the predefined set of documents for the offline benchmark. This is how we call this. But I can also create a revision and test it against the current production in parallel. That means you have a really online benchmark, and only if the revision yields any better result, it will be or can be automatically released for production. That means you can really improve any kind of results during production. And it's of course also possible and that you potentially start from scratch without any pre-trained set. This is possible, might not be, you might not use this in any case, but definitely a possibility that you could also use in such cases to extend your train set during production. Yeah, and with that being said, let's jump to the live demo. Just quickly stop sharing because I have to switch the monitors. So, and here we go. Okay, here we are again. Now you are seeing here our dashboard for HIDP. This dashboard is split into two parts. The above layer is on top is the so-called user apps for capture, batch review, and field review. That means you can capture documents using web capture. You can review those batches that you have imported into the system, that they have been classified successfully, separated, that you have conducted some quality checks. And you have this field review for all the extracted data, and to make sure that what you extract is good enough for your destination system. And below that, you have the so-called system apps, which is what we already talked about, the process monitor and process editor. You also have here the classification designer and the extraction designer, where you really can define your classification and extraction projects. So let's start to import a few documents into the system. And how we do this and how we monitor those documents that we are pushing into the system, we are using the process monitor really to view how the documents are walking through each step of our process. And this is where we're going to start today. So if we look at this one here, you can already see here our BPMN-based process that we're using for today. On the left side, you see here some different import steps, like document importer, this is just a folder import. You can use web capture with a mobile phone, for example, or just using the browser, or you have here an email importer to really pull some email inboxes. And all of these steps will lead to the following steps in this process. That means we will automatically generate and normalize and standardize PDF out of each incoming document. We will put them into our built-in full text reader engine, and then we will classify those documents. We will structure them, and then depending on the outcome of the classification, it will either go to the batch review here, or you will have it going to the extraction step. So that means in this process, besides those activities, you can also create your own gateways. That means into decisions based on conditions, how the document should walk through the process. And in this case, it's just a clear decision if the classification was successful and the document type has been assigned with the right confidence level, you can just push it to extraction. In all the other areas, it can just go to batch review and you have to review it manually. We will come to the further steps later, of course, but just wanted to start now with the web capture. Therefore, I go back to the dashboard, go into the Hyland capture, and you can see here the different 3 processes that I have available as a user to import new documents. And I will start with the process for today's demo, of course, and just jump into our KYC web capture client. I could now use either a Twain driver, for example. I could download it and install it here, or I can just upload documents from my PC and my local machine, which I will just do here. I've prepared some of our documents that we are using for today's demo, and I will just import them. They will be uploaded into the system, and I can check if they are all looking good. Just to give you an example on what you could also do with this, if I change the browser mode to a mobile client, I could also use this on a phone, for example. That means I could also use the camera on my phone to really make a picture and push this picture into the process if I would like to use this that way. I have to go back now. Okay, here we go. And depending on the layout, because all of the clients are persona-based, that means it depends, of course, how they look like and what kind of functionality and content would you like to offer to your users. We can just push them into the process by just confirming here and submit this view. Let's now go back to our process monitor. And we really can now see all of these documents walking through the process. That means it's a real monitor, a real live monitor, where you can see that all of these documents are working through each of these so-called activities. By saying that, just to explain what this activity looks like, because every activity has, of course, its own configuration. And again, it's, of course, all low code or even no code. In this case, it's just no code. Therefore, if I click here on Document Importer and go to settings on the right side, you will see the configuration of this particular activity. That means what the import path looks like, what kind of file types I want to import into the system. Do I want to exclude some files? What do I want to do with these files? And some more things here. So it's depending on each activity, how the configuration looks like here on the right side. And as you can see now, all the documents are in the field review step. That means the classification was successful, and we can now go to the field review, really to review those documents, why they stopped here. Of course, they stopped here because we prepared them to do so. And we said, hey, we want to show you something here, how this looks like from a user perspective. So I go back to our dashboard. I will just jump to the field review here. And you can see here now our documents that are in the field review step. Again, this is also a persona-based client. That means you can configure it in different ways, and you can show exactly the information you would like to show to your users. I also want to highlight one particular thing here, because on the right side, you can see here the SLA status. That means you can really assign for each document that has been processed in the system an SLA. In this case, we have an SLA of 24 hours just for each document that is coming into the system. But more importantly, you can also configure an SLA based on any kind of condition. That means if you extract some kind of information from the document that says, hey, this is a very important one, or this is a very urgent one, you can also set a different SLA and a different SLA status. You could also and even use this information to fully process the whole document differently than the other ones. And as you can see here, if I go to the second page, you will see here that there are some warnings already. They are marked and highlighted in yellow, and other ones that are already overdue, because this is of course a demo system. Therefore, we always have some documents in here that are overdue. But let's now jump into one of the documents in here and how this looks like. Again, we are here in the field review. That means we have extracted the data. The classification step was already successful. And in this case, if we have sorry, I have to drink something. We have here a payslip, so the document type that has been assigned to this document. We have here some extracted metadata from this document. For example, the employee name, the pay period, the company name, and more. There are, of course, for each extraction project and for each extraction method, different ways to extract the information you want to find on the document and you want to extract. For example, it can be starting from a zone locator, it can be a database lookup, it can be a dictionary, and much more. So there are different ways possible to really create your extraction projects and to extract data from your documents in a variety of ways. If the built-in extraction methods are even not enough, you could also create and add your own ones if you would like to. That means you could also and easily just change information that has been extracted here. So if you want to correct the system, you can just add this and highlight and mark this on the document, and it will exactly assign this to the field that has been highlighted here on the left side. And if I change something in here, and if I configured it that way, then it will also go to our learning service. That means this could be trained that the name of the company might not be the right one. So this could be added to the train set and could be used as a new trained model here. So let's go back to that one. Let's go to the next step, because the monitor is one part when you can really view all of the documents walking through the system. But let's also have a look on the process editor. So really, how does this look like from the configuration perspective, and how can you configure your own processes? Because it's really easy to build a new process, to configure it, to test it, and to see what the result looks like. Because it's just used per drag and drop, put this together and use it. So therefore, it's really straightforward to create your own processes. Therefore, you can see here on the left side, some different processes that are already in our demo environment, like the KYC demo I'm using today, but you have also some other workflows and processes that are in the system here, like with this swim lane view here, for example, or just a short one. So therefore, it's just depending, of course, on your needs, on how you are using the system. It's quite important and also crucial to understand that you cannot only put one document into one process and that's it. You could also move those documents through the processes. That means you could have a document or incoming document process, which then says, hey, we have some sub-processes where you want to push the document forward to its destination process in HIDP, and then use different processes for one incoming process for all of your documents. I also want to mention one thing. When I go up here to this level Hyland, and you can see here already that it's an organization that's called Hyland. And therefore we have some departmental sub structures here, like commercial, financial services, training class, and more. That means you can really define different levels in your organization and also assign different access rights and permissions based on the level you're working on. That means you can also create a multi-tenant application here that is capable of really splitting those processes in different organizations, in different departments, and you can really manage your access to each of those structures here on the left side. Let's go back to the commercial page here and to our KYC demo here. As you can see here above, it's also capable of versioning processes. That means the one I'm using here is just a draft because, again, it's just a demo system. But could you really create your minor version at the beginning, test it, and whenever it's ready for production, you could really publish this process to version 1, deploy it on your runtime system, and then have different types of versions and revision that you have created to really test all the different results with different processes in one overall process where you just have to use or can use different versions. How can you configure now something like this workflow? So it's really like drag and drop and put this thing together and configure each of these activities. So for example, on the right side, you can see here all the out-of-the-box activities that are really built in come with the system. It's just that easy that you can just put them together and have a different or further import method that you want to add to the system. Like this XML importer, for example. So it's just to connect it to your next step here and you have to add it, and that's it. Then, of course, you have to configure each of those activities on the right side. That means if you click on it, you can here define on how the XML XPath looks like or the XML schema looks like and really configure it. And this is all based on the low-code approach here. That means depending on the activity you are in, of course, the right side, as you have already seen it with the document importer, looks completely different. But it's just that way that you really can add this by drag and drop and configure your activity. I also want to mention one thing here at the end, because we were just in this extraction step or activity before, where we had this field review and where we can really push the document through the field review to create an output of HIDP. And in this case, in this process, we are making something that might not make sense in a production environment, but it's just a nice use case to demonstrate, because we can also create different kind of output formats, for example, just within one queue here. That means we have here the transformation to an XML, to a CSV, to a JSON that can be used as an output from the system. And at the end, we can use this PDF generator as an output. This is in some cases needed, for example, because we can also take the original document that we have imported into the system with us, But you might remember, we can also normalize and standardize using PDF generator to really process the same format in the system. But we can also take the original format with us and create this as an additional output here and hand this over to the destination system or just export it into the file system. And as I also said at the beginning, we have also the possibility, and you as our partners have also the possibility to create your own custom built activities. And this is something what we have already created. Of course, one of the absolutely valid questions might be, how is this connected with all of our platforms like Alfresco, OnBase, or Naxeo, for example? So this is, while we do not have a product ready yet, we have something built that is called Upload to Alfresco. This is just a pre-sales engineered activity in here that has been built using the .NET framework to be able to configure to hand over data and the content to an Alfresco system. That means you can see here on the right side all the typical Alfresco values and information you need to, for example, identify the right node ID, or to just use this. It could also be used as a variable, for example. It must just be a fixed value. And to do some mapping between the extracted keywords or the extracted values from the document to the aspect and the properties in Alfresco. And it's just done via a simple mapping. And this will lead, of course, that all the information will be handed over to Alfresco in this case. And this could also be done with our other platforms like OnBase or Naxeo, of course. There are some more additional things here possible, but I also wanted to show you the result, how this looks like on the Alfresco side. And therefore, I added this link already here to just show you how this looks like if you jump to Alfresco and go directly to one of those documents that we have pushed to Alfresco. And therefore, you might recognize this payslip again. And if we click now on the properties, and more information, you will see here that we have also handed over all the details that we have extracted from the document, including document type, to Alfresco to use this information here as well. Okay, so let's go back to that one. And I just wanted to show you one more thing here. And this is the batch review. This is the step we skipped before for the process because this directly went to the field review. But I also wanted to cover this because this gives you also the possibility to really quality check your documents that you're pushing into the system. And therefore, it can also go into that. This looks quite similar now, like the field review you saw before, but has some different functionality when we open one of those batches in here. And therefore, I will jump to the second page here because we have here a quite comprehensive one with several documents in it. Where you can really see how a full batch of documents looks like. You have a full package here that have been splitted into separate parts. And now you are able to really quality check all of the results here. That means how the document has been classified, have the documents been splitted and put into the right slices as expected or not. And might there be additional manual activities necessary here? And you can really do all this stuff directly in this client. So anyone who's responsible for checking those documents can just do those activities in here. And that means you can configure your view here on the right side, for example, if you would like to see it more on a document level. So that means every line in here is one document. Or if you want to just have this grid view here, you can just walk through all the documents in here. Now it's possible to review all of these documents. You can really view all of these. You can redact, you can add notes, everything you would like to do here and what is typically expected, like rotation, for example, if this has not been done yet. And you can also rearrange those pages and the order of all the documents, for example. You can split them, you can merge them. So everything that is needed to be done in here as expected can also be done. And as you see, it's all and fully web-based. That means you can use HIDP also fully web-based in all of these web-based applications. So, and with that being said, let's go back to our conclusion. Just go back here. That's because this opens on the wrong monitor. So now we are here. So now share screen, and here we go. So what you've seen, and just to highlight a few topics here at the end that we think are quite important. As I already said, one of our key benefits is that it's a fully web-based application. For the classification and extraction designer, there is also a Windows application available that you can really use as a power user to train those sets, to test sets, and really to train the system based on this if you don't like to use a web-based application for this. And it's really an end-to-end BPMN-based process designer. From all the different kind of import channels you might have to any kind of destination system you might have, you can really process any kind of document just using our process designer from end to end. And as you have seen before with the metrics we shared, it's really built for straight-through processing. It's not meant to have all the manual validation steps in between. It's just built for learning and training the system to really leverage straight-through processing, to make it as easy as it can be for each user and for each organization to process their documents. As also said, it's highly scalable. That means each of those activities you have seen before, like OCR, like conversion to PDF or PDF-A, for example, can be pushed to a different server instance. That means if you have high workload on those activities, you can just push any activity on one single server if you would like to, or on multiple single servers. So therefore, you can define for each activity on where to execute it. And everything is built on low code. So I just showed the process designer and some other activities in there, but also to define your classification and your extraction projects, it's also built on a low and no code approach. So therefore, it's not really, there's no need to really add some code here. But if you would like to have some code, there are ways to integrate custom code at almost any endpoint in the system. And also, as already said, you can develop your own custom activities. It's quite crucial, of course, if you want to extend the system to do something special that is not available yet, and you don't want to wait for Hyland to support this, you can just develop your own activities if you would like to. Build this for your own purposes, for your own integrations that you might have, for your own platforms or applications that will come to hand over those content and the data that we've extracted. But it's also, as you have seen, it enables you to really configure any process just by using these about 60 out-of-the-box activities in this process designer, where you just click your process together and define how this looks like, what kind of conditions and gateways it could take. And it's also fully integratable using our REST API, where you can just use at any point during this process, for example, to ingest new documents using REST API, but also to use this for to call in REST API web service at the end of the process, or to have something in between. For example, if you need data during the process, you could also use REST API to also connect to your database or something like that. And it's also quite important what we have here already prepared for you. So it might not be the case that we have everything that you would expect already prepared, but we already put some partner package together where we have some kind of additional information, more in-depth details, and much more stuff in it, like slide decks, the product documentation, of course. There are some guides on how to create a project for classification, extraction, and to put this together in this process. We can also offer you, or would like to offer you, a 2-hour product deep dive session. So therefore, we didn't cover all the topics we could talk about today, of course. So therefore, if you would like to have a more in-detail view on a separate session just exclusively for you, we are also happy to offer this way to really answer your questions there. It's also available in AWS AMI template of HIDP that can also be used on your AWS account if you would like to have the demo environment you just saw before available with an evaluation license, of course, which we could also provide to you. This partner package also includes a sample activity. That means if you want to really look on the code, this example is in C#, and you want to see how this has been developed and how this typically has been built, this is also included in there. And some other stuff that we didn't want to mention here because the list is too long. And yes, please just send an email to Andrew, of course, if you would like to have more. So therefore, if you would like to have the partner package, if you would like to have the 2-hour product deep dive session. So we are happy to support you in this case. Just let us know on how we can do this. And
sure. Let me just quickly jump here, give you a short rest, Chris. So what the information that Chris is referring to here is all within our training platform, which is called HighSpot. I'm certain all partners are aware of HighSpot. It's an absolutely brilliant tool. So you can do all the enablement through HighSpot, but there's also preset sales plays that you can share with your customers and prospects. So it's really a tool that's designed for both the technical environment and the sales and marketing environment as well. If you need to run through that, or you need any help with HighSpot, please let myself or your partner manager know, and we can talk you through all that stuff. So thanks, Chris. Oh, yeah, the other thing I was going to mention actually is that, you know, as Hyland is sort of evolving as a company, you know, we're, as I'm sure you all know, we are encouraging our partners to build solutions on our technology more and more, and then we can work with you on a go-to-market strategy, like a joint go-to-market strategy. And it absolutely applies to IDP. You know, there are no doubt there are use cases that we have not thought about. And so our ask of you, or one of our ask of you guys, is really to work with us on identifying those use cases, and let's work on putting the solutions in place with whether it's IDP or whether it's one of the other platforms. You know, we are absolutely here to work collaboratively with you guys on developing this solution and all the others as well. So thanks so much.
Okay, then let's go to the Q&A. So I guess Silvana has already answered many of those questions that I see in the chat, but maybe there are some other questions.
Yeah, I think there's a couple that perhaps would benefit from the deep dive session, Chris, in terms of, I think they're quite deep, quite detailed questions. So I think they'd be difficult to answer here. I think perhaps we should take those offline.
Okay, yeah, sure, of course.
But keep the questions coming. Obviously during the remaining minutes of this session, and/or afterwards, you can reach out to any of us to with any queries you've got on the platform. You know, the better the questions are, really, is the more it helps us all to develop what the roadmap looks like.
Let me just. Here we go. Okay. So. Yeah. Let me just go through here. What do we have in here? Your own? Yeah, okay. You use your own ICR or OCR engine? Yes, exactly. So there's something that is built in. but you could also use something external. So if you would like or prefer something like Amazon Textract or Microsoft Read or Abby or whatever, this can also be used in this process and integrated. So there's no need to use this that comes out of the box. But I would really recommend test it and see the results, because this, what I have seen so far, is really, really promising on how the results look like, and particularly for classification when you use content-based classification. Document, does this mean Sonus OCR support? Yes, it's supported. Although a lot of other extraction methods that can be used as well. So okay, we'll jump over these competition questions here, but we don't want to avoid them, but we'll of course answer them as well. But I can't look into them into detail. Does OCR include Arabic language? Not, unfortunately, not the built-in OCR engine. So it's of course Unicode capable, but the built-in OCR engine doesn't support Arabic at the moment.
It's being tested. We have a partner in Middle East that's looking at it now.
Ah, okay, yeah, perfect. Good to know.
That's a good example of what I was saying about earlier about collaborating with partners on developing the platform. So we're working with a partner in that region to develop the.
Yeah, exactly. And I really look forward to see what all of this amazing stuff can be done from our partners with this tool here, because it's quite easy to build your own processes and have your own use cases, and therefore it's really exciting to enable you to use this product.
Yep, absolutely.
So, okay, line item extraction. Yes, of course, there is. It is possible to use also table extraction, but compared to Brainwave for invoices, particularly, there is no or nothing like a template for invoice processing built in the product. But it has an extraction method that is called table extraction, where you can really train also tables to the system, or define configure tables and extract those information. Document generation features available based on template. So okay, I'm not sure if I understand this correct. So document generation is possible in a way that we can convert incoming documents to a PDF format, for example, or to create this as an output format. But it's not something that we really have here, some kind of like an output management or customer communication management system to create template-based output here. Can you monitor how the OCR quality is improved? Yes, exactly. So any kind of result can be reviewed, and you can really review how the results look like over time and how they have been, how they become better. So this is what I would typically expect, and how they improve over time. Okay. How is it different? Yes, okay. So Alfresco processor is of course something that's built in for the purpose for use with Alfresco, of course. So this is really for, let's say, any kind of document processing where you have to, in a way, extract data, classify documents, where you can really get value, any value, business value out of those documents. This could be starting from an Alfresco process, of course, and then you push this to HIDP and getting back to Alfresco. But this could also be just the use case like I showed before, that you are using this as an import channel, and then hand it over to Alfresco process services at the end, and you build your HIDP and Alfresco or APS-based end-to-end process. This is what's all about. So, and good to know, RPA with IDP. Yeah, okay. It is, of course, possible to connect and combine RPA with IDP, but we haven't done such a scenario yet. But of course, it's possible to use document, extract data with RPA, and to conduct additional tasks with RPA that might not be included in IDP yet. This could be installed on premise. or not, and not only on your cloud. Yes, that's correct. So that means you can really get the installation files for your on-premise or self-hosted, self-managed system. It's exactly the same like we would deploy this in the future in the Hyland cloud. So therefore, yes, that's possible. What languages are supported? So the built-in OCR or ICR engine supports all Latin 1 languages out of the box. Just learned that Arabic is an additional one maybe in the future. So therefore, but this is supported right now out of the box. Of course, if you would use a different OCR engine, you could also extract data or use the data with different languages. Can HIDP auto-rotate images? Yes, it can. For example, based on the OCR result, that it recognizes that it has to rotate the image. Then you can really auto-rotate this if you activate this. Does it include image enhancement modules? Like virtual rescan or something. I think you're referring to something like that. No, not out of the box, but I have also seen quite impressive results when you have a gray background with gray letters on it, where the result really looks very promising out of the box without any kind of enhancement of the image itself. But of course, this could be also included in this process. You could also add an activity or a custom activity in here. Can you identify the personal identifying information and can hide it automatically? You can identify whenever you have something to identify based on a database, for example, or a dictionary, where you can identify those information. And then because redaction is possible in the system and could be done, then you could also redact such information. But it has to be built or configured in the system that it is capable of recognizing it and really redacting those information. Does IDP make use of NLP? Yes, it's a neural engine that is in the background as our online service to really train the system and create new learn sets. So therefore, yes, it does. To connect is the same way as Alfresco in your demo with a connector. Yes, it could be. So I mean, there are different ways possible to push documents into Naxeo. This could be done via REST API. This could be done via a custom activity, or just putting in the file and the description of that file into a folder, where you just hand it over to Naxeo to import it automatically. So different ways possible. There are, of course, plans to have a product ready or an activity ready as a product to really directly hand over the documents to all of our platforms. Okay. Does IDP work on K8s? I'm not sure. If I know what that is, please specify, Diego. What is this? Kubernetes. Okay. So no, it's not this because it's just Windows-based setup here that it could be used then. Standard activity interface connected to with SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint. No, nothing seen with in Microsoft SharePoint yet. So could be something that, but of course, could be possible in the future. Can IDP read text layer from imported PDF? Yes, you can really define if you want to use the text layer that is integrated in the PDF, or if you want to process it through the OCR engine to extract it again. It's sometimes the question if you want to rely on the text layer that is in the PDF itself, or if you want to read it with the OCR again. Is learning and model enhancement done in the on-prem versions, or it has to be done through the cloud? No, it's really done in the on-prem version. That means you do not need to call any kind of cloud service to train, to learn, to enhance your model. This is just built for the customer that is using the system, and can be defined just in this use case for this scenario. Okay, yeah, an insightful presentation. Wonderful. I mean, thanks for the, yes, happy to do so. So really happy to have you all here, and for all the huge amount of questions here. Perfect. Thank you very much for the feedback.
Absolutely. We've got
Did
one
I
more
miss
slide, haven't
anything?
we, Chris?
Yeah.
I think we've got one more slide.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry. Here we go.
Yes. So you partners, you asked for an alfresco tech quest in person, and so we've delivered it. So in September this year, we have in the lovely Lisbon, which is a fantastic place to go actually. So we've put this together. It's going to be a fantastic track. We've still got availability of early bird tickets, so we need to make this a success basically jointly. So please register your teams. It's a fantastic opportunity to expand learning across your teams on this brilliant platform. So please support us with Alfresco Tech Quiz. Thank you. So I think with that we're all completed. So just a few thank yous for me. Thank you to Chris and to Savannah for the brilliant presentation and answering the questions. Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you to all of you, our partners, for attending today, for giving up your time and your attention and your questions. Please don't stop the questions just because the session's ended. Please keep those coming, either through myself or through your partner manager. Please keep working on your ideas for how we can develop the platform and what the future could look like in terms of use cases. And I think then, and also on the commercial side of things, just have a conversation with your partner manager about that. There's some great commercials to be had, and I think then we can have a successful time taking this to market jointly. So thanks again for joining today and for your support, and we'll see you on the next session.
Thank you very much. Have all a great day. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Have a good day.
See you soon.